Hey guys, Claire here, and in today's video, we're going to talk about all things Harry and Meghan. So as I'm recording this, Harry and Meghan are currently on day 2 of their trip to Jordan. Now, of course, we know whenever the Sussexes are out and about, they tend to pack a lot into their visits. And this time is no exception. On day 1, the couple took part in the World Health Organization's humanitarian roundtable with the World Health Organization's Director General, Dr. Tedros, UN officials, and international donors to discuss the regional's health crisis. They also traveled to a camp near the Syrian border, which houses approximately 45,000 refugees. The Sussexes also visited the Quest Scope Youth Center. This youth center uses art, music, and sports for trauma recovery. Meghan notably joined a group of young girls for a football session, and of course, Prince Harry participated in a penalty shootout. To round up day 1, the couple visited a specialty hospital, meeting medical evacuees. They spent time with children like 14-year-old Maria, who's a burn survivor from Gaza, and a 17-year-old Jabbar, who is receiving treatment for severe blast injuries. On day 2, the Sussexes visited the World Central Kitchen's regional headquarters. They held a video call with field kitchen leaders inside Gaza who are currently producing about 60% of the meals for the population. After that, the couple visited a rehabilitation and addiction center alongside the World Health Organization delegation to observe mental health and recovery programs in the region. The trip concluded with private meetings with senior Jordanian health officials and government leaders to discuss long-term support for displaced populations. Now, for those of you who don't know, in September of 2025, Harry announced 3 grants totaling $500,000. $200,000 of that $500,000 was to fund the very medical evacuations they witnessed at the specialty hospital. $150,000 of the donation was given to Save the Children, and this was for emergency humanitarian aid on the ground, which ties into what they did on day 2. The remaining $150,000 went to the Imperial College in London to develop specialized prosthetics for child amputees. So yeah, this is just another example of Harry and Meghan showing up and doing good, and who knows, possibly this will lead to even more donations to do some more good work for those in need.
Shout out to Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, for doing the work on their dime and not the taxpayers' dime. For doing the work that they want to do and not the work that they're obligated to do to make an excuse for being paid by taxpayer money. And for actually having real influence to be able to highlight real issues in the globe. And I say that to say because the trip that Prince Harry and Meghan has been taking in the Middle East is something that a lot of people who I saw complain about them not highlighting issues such as what's going on in Gaza. I don't see the same people giving them the credit when they're actually doing it now, but then they wanted to attack them when it looked like they wasn't helping. Isn't it funny how that works? One of the main things about this trip was them to highlight families and kids that have been displaced because of the war in the Middle East. It's even to the point that this trip has got so much attention because it just came out of nowhere. That's how you do it. Things don't leak to the press. But this trip has got so much attention that Captain Baldy, someone up at the Daily Mail, and made sure his name was attached so people can remember that he just recently did a trip. I just find it funny.
And this is what Dre was referring to. And I mean, we've seen this happen a couple of times where the tabloid, specifically the Daily Mail, gives coverage of Harry and Meghan. And it's not like pro Harry and Meghan, it's just a reflection of the facts. And within hours, the headlines change and people like to joke that, they got a call from the palace and they got in line. Initially, some of the reports or screenshots that I've seen of the coverage from the British tabloids seem to be pretty normal. Not sure if that's still the case, and quite frankly, I don't care to look. Now, in a statement, Prince Harry said it is an honor to join the Director General of the World Health Organization here in Jordan, a country that leads by example in compassion, resilience, and innovation. Through our work with Archwell Philanthropies, my wife and I have witnessed firsthand the impact of the World Health Organization's efforts in supporting mental health, and delivering life-saving care in emergencies. And before I forget, James Holt is also with Harry and Meghan in Jordan. As you can see him right last December, I believe, he moved back to the UK for his family and said that he would be working with Harry and Meghan for their international trips. Now, of course, a lot of the anti-Meghan and Harryites were making a big deal out of James's relocation, trying to make it seem like, oh my God, another one bites the dust.
Imagine being more angry that Harry and Meghan met with medical evacuees in Jordan and played soccer with kids at a refugee camp for displaced Syrians than the fact that the former queen and much of the monarchy have been complicit for decades in a greedy, obnoxious, entitled former prince's despicable behavior because he thought he was untouchable. He had children to him, and his ex-wife, the former Duchess of York, took the two princesses to celebrate the release of a offender from prison, and you're worried that Harry and Meghan are using their influence to bring awareness to refugees and an ongoing humanitarian crisis? And Andrew's falling apart at the seams because after decades of profiting off of his title and having the British taxpayer pay for his happy endings, he's stuck with only 2 servants, has had to downsize to a 5-bedroom home on the Sandringham estate that his brother, the king, is paying to renovate, and won't be allowed to go horseback riding anymore. And this was the problem all along. Harry and Meghan, who are actually concerned about doing good in the world, were too good for the royal family, whose biggest concern is their continued survival.
Now, in the last video, we briefly touched on William and Kate's attendance at the BAFTAs and the fallout between the Tourette's and the racial slur. Now, one of the commentators in the previous video felt like Prince William, who is the president of the BAFTAs, should have issued some sort of apology. Not necessarily for the Tourette's outburst, but for the very piss-poor job that the BBC did by leaving in those slurs. Now, there's also some people on social media who think that this misstep by the BBC wasn't really a misstep at all. And they theorize that this is the BBC trying to distract from the conversation of Prince Andrew. And they're making the connection that William, obviously Andrew's nephew, president of the BAFTAs and the royal family, likely wants this PR nightmare of Andrew to sort of slip away. And now, I mean, let's be real, a lot of conversations about Prince Andrew is no longer the main focus. This misstep by the BBC is. What do you guys think? Let me know.
I will allow you guys to continue talking about the BAFTAs. I do want to say some of the takes I've seen have been absolutely insane. But I do want to add my 2 cents. And what I'm going to say is, isn't it weird how a couple of days ago we were talking about Prince Andrew being arrested and now we're not? And if I said to you, I actually think that this whole song and dance and this whole circus was done on purpose and they left that slur in on purpose, you would say. Because also if I then followed that up and I said, instead of safeguarding the 2 minorities, the black men and the disabled man, what they did was they safeguarded the royal family. What would you say to that? No, it's just an open dialogue conversation. Like, I don't know much, so I'm just, putting things on the table. If you want to pick it up, pick it up. If you want to put it down, put it down. It's up to you.
I'm positive I'm in conspiracy theory mode right now, but I'm pretty sure that the BBC and BAFTA decided to air that racial slur to distract from everything that's happening to Prince Andrew. There's no explanation to see why they will actually air that when the show is pre-recorded.
Now, apparently, Warner Brothers complained about the slur and requested that it be removed from the airing. And not only that, it's been reported that they removed, like, Free Palestine and other slurs that the man mentioned during the show. So it does seem like it was deliberate. What a mess. Now, the BBC will forever get a side eye from me. I do recall that incredibly problematic portrayal of Meghan in one of their shows. I think it was supposed to be comedy, but it was anything but comedic. So yeah, major side eye to the BBC.
See, that's why Meghan Markle and Prince Harry brought their behinds over here, because y'all ain't slick. We don't play that mess.
Oh, look. Brave Prince William goes to a big party. I'm sorry, but what's brave about being chauffeur-driven to an awards show? I suppose the organisation should be grateful that their president turned up at all, seeing as he's missed a few. He revealed at the awards that he hasn't watched one of the BAFTA-winning films. What, has he been too busy? All those days he's worked since the beginning of the year? Apparently he hasn't watched Hamnet because he hasn't been in a calm state. What, he hasn't been in a calm state since the film was released at the beginning of January? Has he made a comment yet about the racist slur incident? Of course he hasn't. I imagine he's waiting for his advisor to tell him whether to say one or two sentences. Well, I'm not holding my breath, even though he said in the past that they're very much not a racist family.
Amanda Platel says that no one seems to dare say it, but William is the monarchy's next big problem. She's wrong, because I have been saying it over and over for at least several years now. William is petty, vindictive, and full of rage. You can see it on his face in this photo. You can see it when he talks to reporters, and you can see it in all of his briefings about his brother, who he hates because his brother was able to get away from the family and the firm and doesn't have to do the work that William now has to do, which is show up, be seen for the monarchy, answer some questions when they're being asked, and do a job that benefits Britain in any way. When asked such hard-hitting questions like, is the family racist? He says, this family is very much not racist. He can't even answer simple questions in a way that makes sense. He is lazy. He doesn't like to work. He only works between the hours of 9 and 4. For example, William knew that he was going to eventually become the Prince of Wales, and he has never learned to speak Welsh, not even in the 40 years that he knew he was going to become the Prince of Wales. He has 5 homes. 5. He doesn't need all of those homes. He just has them because he thinks he's entitled to them. We have heard over and over from various reporting in the media that he has a temper and anger issues, and he treats his staff terribly. This is really no different from Charles, but William seems to be less interested in learning and reading and trying to be better, like Charles tries to be.
Former prince has been told he will now have a skeleton staff consisting of just a chef and a valet.
No butler? No housekeepers? No chauffeur? No footman? I don't know how he's gonna survive.
The 66-year-old is temporarily holed up at Wood Farm, awaiting his new permanent home in nearby Marsh Farm to be renovated.
Yes, the 5-bedroom postage stamp with stables so he can keep riding his horses all over the 20,000-acre Sandringham estate that his brother, King Charles, is personally paying to renovate. You know what I remember? When Harry and Meghan had to repay the sovereign grant for the renovations to Frogmore Cottage.
One source said he's lost his HRH, Prince and Duke titles, so staff who didn't know how to correctly address him have been instructed that he is still to be called Sir.
How about Andrew or PDF file?
You need an entire culture change in the UK for these people to stop fawning over these royals. And it's not stopped at all. It's literally not stopped. The front pages today are like, oh, William's not in a calm state. He can't watch Hamnet. Oh, I'm so sorry for William. Can't watch Hamnet. Dreadful. Like, who gives a flying...
I did notice, I think it was the BBC had a picture of Kate and William at the BAFTAs, and they were like, the show must go on.
Yeah.
And I was like, really?
Yeah.
Like, that's the level of journalism and scrutiny we're having here, is that, like, they put on a brave face, they've gone to the BAFTAs, good for them.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
are you joking?
Yeah.
Now, I wonder if that's not one of the issues that William seems to be very peeved whenever Harry and Meghan do international trips, and they're getting a lot of really good press for the work that they do. Because since leaving, Harry and Meghan are invited to these places. They pay out of their own pockets. To some degree, it sort of makes a lot of the work that William does specifically seem very ineffectual. William and Kate. Now, Charles has the Prince's Trust, which I believe is now the King's Trust, and that's been credited with doing really good work over the years. But when you look at William's pledges and whatnot, it really hasn't produced a lot of substantial good. Just a thought.
Thank you, Tessa Dunlop, for for saying what we have all been thinking, that treating Prince Harry worse than treating Prince Andrew is starting to look pretty bad for the royal family at this point in time. Now, what's funny is that Harry and Meghan are actually doing the work of royals right now, which is going on a humanitarian trip and basically learning about things and bringing focus and attention to causes in the world that they care about. That is the job that the royal family is supposed to be doing. And remember, these two technically aren't part of the royal family, but they're the only ones doing the job and the work that the royal family should be doing. I find it hilarious, actually, that these two are a better representation of the royal family than the current royal family. All these two wanted was a half-in, half-out solution, and they were not given the grace of that in any way, or the respect to have security or to make decisions about their future, or a myriad of other things that we have talked about. And again, they treated Andrew better than they treated these two.
Imagine the sense of entitlement Andy had to, I guess, allegedly say this. And also, can you imagine what we don't know? This is the fraction of what we know about this person, this man and his ex-wife, because I personally am just lumping both of them together. Can you imagine what they did when nobody saw? The things that weren't documented, the pictures that weren't taken, the emails that weren't shown. But imagine having this sense of entitlement because of who your mommy is. When you're a grown man with basically zero accomplishments on your own. The more I think about this, it's just mind-blowing. And the fact that they got away with it for so long and nobody held them accountable. I remember the interview when they asked him about Virginia and he was just like, I don't remember meeting her, even though there were pictures. Like, the sense of entitlement is mind-blowing.
So at 7:28 a.m. this morning, the Daily Mail did an article on Harry and Meghan, how they'd landed in Jordan to begin their 2-day tour to visit to highlight plight of people forced out of their homes by war. So this was put up at 7:28 in the morning. No mention of William. 2 hours later, at 9:46, we have Harry and Meghan land in Jordan for 2-day trip to meet Gaza war refugees, days after William's diplomatic visit to the Middle East. Why is William mentioned in this one and he wasn't mentioned in the first one? Why? Because William got his people in the grey suits to phone up the Daily Mail, and then this morning they've had to put William's name in because they have to make it relevant about William, because that's the only way he can get relevant, if they put his name in with an article with Harry and Meghan. But it's kind of sad really that they have to put William's name in because it's got nothing to do with him. It's Harry and Meghan's tour. Why they're making it about the future king? Is it because he's so boring and he has to be slapped into the title just to get a bit of coverage and press media? Is that the problem? Because I can't understand how you got one and then 2 hours later you put his name in it. And it just proves that the Daily Mail are corrupt and bent, because they're actually taking those orders from the men in the grey suits at the palace, William's people. They've said, you put his name in that title. And people say, well, the press don't have a say. They do. The palace have a say. And it's all their old child saying to Harry, oh, we can't do anything about the media. But obviously they can. And also today, William did a visit to the Francis Crick Institute, where he put on a white coat, and he was in this science lab with all these students, squeezing all this stuff into testing tubes, and I just thought it was so pathetic. And again, it's been done deliberately because of Harry and Meghan's tour. But again, no one comes out and says, oh yes, William, isn't that terrible? He's gone out on the same day as his brother. But no one covers it. No one says it, as usual. But if that was the other way around and they went out on William's day, you'd all be talking about it. But it's double standards, I'm afraid. But I just thought how sad that they have to ring up the Daily Mail, the palace, and say, can you put William's name in as well?
So it turns out that Prince Andrew's birthday surprise wasn't a trip to Build-A-Bear workshop. Instead, he was arrested by his brother's servants and taken to a police station at our expense. The royal family hasn't been in this much trouble since Princess Diana was died. But they'll survive. They're Christians, you know. They hold those deep Christian values like getting divorced, committing adultery, and being friends with prolific sex abusers. It's so comforting to know that there's such good Christians.
And with that, we've come to the conclusion of today's video. Wherever you guys are, I hope you're having a wonderful day. And I'll talk to you guys in the next video. Bye!
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, hit that notification bell.